It is important to practice being in command of something, and understand to not be in command of something is practicing idleness. It's practice. It's not, nothing good comes from not being in command all the time of something. When I get up, I brush my teeth. I'm in command to grab the toothbrush. When I take a shower and get the shampoo out, I'm in command of my soul and my mind and my body, and I change my clothes and put fresh clothes on. Everything is okay because I'm in command of something. When you're not in command of something, what you're practicing is idleness. And what you have is a loss of your will. The power of self is gone. The self may be gone. Your soul may be gone. And you could be walking around without your soul, called dispossessed. You don't have your soul in your head. You don't have your spirit in you. It's called being dispossessed. It is very important, if you're dispossessed, that you realize you're not a slave. And if God's punishing you, or God is punishing you, and that's why you're dispossessed, because they pushed you out of yourself. They pushed your spirit out of your body and said, don't you dare take yourself back. You better not have it. And understand, if God has said that to you, well, then you better not take it back, because understand, it could be a punishment, but understand that's 2 or 3% of all the cases of dispossession. 2 or 3% are maybe punishment by God or goddess. The 97% of them are people who don't know, have no idea what they don't know who they are, why they are, or what they are. They don't even know what they're not. They're probably walking around thinking that they know everything. They're not even worried, but they are worried. They're very worried because they're not happy and they're miserable, and they hide their misery, they hide their pain, they hide their suffering, and they're suffering constantly, and they're always in a happy mood, walking around bubbly, because they're actually miserable. And they're spending all their energy and time and insight every day covering up their misery, covering up their suffering, trying to put a happy face on a miserable existence of suffering and torment by being without their soul, by not having their spirit in their head. It is utterly a suffering of a soul without itself. It suffers. It's a death. It's like a death, being dispossessed. It feels like a death. It lingers like a death, an ongoing death while you live every day. You've got to be aware that if you're afraid to take yourself back, you could definitely be worried about letting yourself in. You don't even know who you are. Trust me. And so when you try to get back in yourself, you'll probably not want to do it because you don't even know who you are. And if you knew who you were, you would let yourself back in and you wouldn't be miserable anymore. But because you're so convinced that whatever you're about to let in is not you, and definitely it's bad, or maybe something else that's not you, well, understand the one thing you won't let in is you, who you are, who you think you're not, and also you don't even know who you are. But by fearing being possessed by whatever it is, you won't take yourself. And it'll be why you continue to suffer forever. And in your pain and torture, and it goes on forever or for a length of time, when you get desperate enough to say, fine, man, I'm as good as dead anyways. I'll take it all. And when you do, and you find your happiness returns to you, or you find you return to yourself, suddenly everything's fine, but you were too afraid to take yourself until you were tormented to a point of being willing to do anything, including be possessed by every bad entity, if that's what it takes, because maybe you're the bad entity that was removed from yourself and you have never let yourself back in because you're convinced you're bad. And maybe you were. And I'd say that if I said you are still, it's only because you don't have yourself, that you're bad. The dispossession is the rebelliousness in possession of being dispossessed. It's not in possession of itself. It is rebellious, angry, suffering, tormented, and struggling. And it'll be miserable, and every conflict will arise from humans pretending they're happy when they're not happy. And every conflict and every struggle and every torment and every badness of the human race will be from people pretending it's okay when it's not, trying to put a happy face on a misery by not being realistic about what is really going on. And everyone thinks they already know what's going on, but no one knows what's going on. Trust me. You bad entity, kicked out of yourself long ago, and you've never let yourself come back because you're convinced you're bad, and you'll never let yourself come back because you don't even think it's you. You're pretty convinced it's some other bad entity that is not you, and you can't understand why you can't be happy no matter what you do. And your mystery is confusing you, and your mystery is obscure to you. Why can't I be happy? What is wrong? How come I can't fix it? Because you're afraid to take the one entity, which is you, because you think you're not it, or it's not you. You're convinced it's bad or evil, and you definitely ain't not going to take your badass self back, because you're going to say, I wouldn't do it. Well, you better do it. If your suffering gets bad enough, you'll do it. Trust me. You'll do it. When you're ready to jump off a bridge and kill yourself or someone else, you'll say, fine, then I'll take, just be ready to take whatever spirit you won't take because you think it's not you. Your greatest error is your ignorance of who you even are, were, and will be forever and ever.